The latest appeal for the return of the 4 professors was one of almost total desperation. Since the men were kidnapped in January, relatives, friends and students have repeatedly sought their release. But the kidnappers, the Islamic Jihad for the liberation of Palestine, refuse to yield until Lebanese prisoners are freed by Israel. There's no sign of that happening, so once again it looks like total disappointment for the American academics. And an explosion outside a doctor's clinic in Beirut was yet another example of the bewildering Lebanese politics. The doctor was involved, apparently quite innocently, in the disappearance of the Church of England envoy, Terry Waite, 2 months ago. Waite had gone to the doctors for his help in freeing hostages when he himself disappeared. Why a car bomb should now have been exploded outside the doctor's premises, also used by the United Nations, remained an incomprehensible mystery.
كيف كانت الحياة جوا؟ شو لقيت؟
والتنظيم جديد أو حزب سياسي يضاف إلى لائحة الأحزاب الموجودة، بل كانت إيذانا بانطلاق وطن جديد يولد من عذابات الآلاف بل الملايين.
In all, 23 injured Palestinians were taken out from the remains of the Shatila camp. Many had not received proper medical treatment for months. Red Cross workers supervised the operation as the wounded were taken to hospitals in West Beirut. The camp's population received food and other supplies in the last week. They owe their survival as much to their own tenacity as to Syria's President Assad and his 8,000 troops deployed in West Beirut. They may now find it easier to move to another site than rebuild their homes. Almost all of the camp has been leveled, the result of a relentless barrage of mortar and artillery fire over the last 5.5 months. During that time, the inhabitants lived underground in a maze of tunnels and caves. The larger neighboring camp of Bourj el-Barajneh, with 12,000 people living there, was reported to have been entered by Syrian troops late Wednesday. Syrian pressure appears to have finally ended the fighting, at least in Beirut. Reports say Amal and Palestinians have been engaged in battles in southern Lebanon near Sidon. A convoy of 8 Red Cross ambulances arrived at Bourj el-Barajneh to evacuate the worst casualties of the camp's war. Inside the camp, Palestinians moved freely for the first time in months, but many of them needed urgent medical attention. 47 of the most seriously wounded were taken to Muslim hospitals in West Beirut. British doctor Pauline Cutting, who remained in the camp throughout the siege, said goodbye to some of the patients she'd fought to keep alive.
I think all the people here, you can see, they feel very relieved. But at last, the siege and the suffering seems to have ended. I think it's true for all of us. We're all very relieved.
Syrian officers and Amal militia supervised the evacuation, which went off without a hitch. For the moment at least, peace had come to Bourj el-Barajneh. Palestinians at the smaller Shatila camp were also beginning to accept the end of the siege, the refugees wandering aimlessly among the devastated remains of their camp. Amal militia still maintained checkpoints around Shatila, but Syrian commandos prevented any harassment of the refugees as they went shopping. However, the Beirut violence continued as hostilities broke out once again between Christian and Muslim forces. 2 bombs exploded in West Beirut, damaging shops but causing no casualties. Militiamen also exchanged fire across the Green Line, which still divides the city.
دواء خفيف هذا.
5 million Lebanese pounds, which are spent here in Lebanon for food stuff.
في الإذن